Federal Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre has been having a really good week, and it's not just because all the polls are still showing him 20 points ahead of the Liberals, but he's been landing really good shots on Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government on their failures on housing. They've been putting out graphics like this, hitting Justin Trudeau for the fact that rent is increasing at the same time he keeps putting out all these bloated housing plans, and that the new housing starts have even gone down despite the billions of dollars the Liberals are funneling into new housing acceleration funds or whatever Sean Fraser is working on these days. It's all completely worthless. But Pierre Poilievre had this really good clip. I think this is what actually makes it a great week for him, because he points out what both Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government do, as well as the Liberal-aligned legacy media, trying to fearmonger against the Conservatives, going after these bloated programs, pretending that Pierre Poilievre is stealing something away from Canadians if he gets into the government and cuts these programs, when in fact the programs aren't getting anyone any service, and he's merely cleaning up inefficiencies and waste that will make people's lives way better off. Here's Pierre Poilievre talking to reporters about this at a press conference.
I always find it interesting when the media comes to me and says, Justin Trudeau has promised a utopia. Are you going to remove his utopia if you get elected? Well, let's see this utopia first. So far, it has, the word utopia, ironically, in ancient Greek means no place. And no place has Justin Trudeau followed through on any of his promises. Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost, the crime, and corruption. And we will replace him after the carbon tax election with a Conservative government that will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
I hope he watches my show, because that's the exact point I've been wanting the Conservative Party to make for months now. When the media and when Trudeau and their different surrogates go after you saying, are you going to cut the universal dental program? Are you going to cut the pharmacare program? Are you going to cut this or that? You actually have to ask, how are those programs performing? If they're not performing well, we are taking nothing away from people. If anything, we're giving them back their own money so they can seek far better quality services at a faster rate, rather than just waiting for the government to do it for them. And the service quality is probably going to be terrible, and you're probably going to have to pay deductibles for any of this stuff anyways. It's so silly, and it's great that Poilievre is now hitting at this dumb media narrative that they're trying to concoct, where it's an election about Trudeau giving you everything that you possibly could want, and Pierre Poilievre stealing it away, when if anyone just looks at their bank accounts, they know all of the promises are hollow. They haven't gotten anything from the Justin Trudeau Liberal government. They've only been hurt. Taxes have gone up. The inflation has definitely gone up. Service quality has gone down. Wait times for services have gone down. Some of that is a provincial responsibility, but whenever federal involvement has taken place, they've made it worse, especially on housing. Housing is a complete turkey of an issue for the Liberals. There's a reason why, when you look at the Liberals' hypothetical leadership polling, Sean Fraser comes dead last in terms of his people's impression of him. Even though the Liberals keep trying to propagandize in favor of Housing Minister Sean Fraser, nobody likes him, because they perceive that his portfolio of government is the area where the Liberals have failed on the most. Plus, he is very heavily responsible for all the issues. He's not just an ineffective person who was brought in to try and fix the problem. He helped Trudeau create the problem, because, as you will know, before Sean Fraser was the housing minister, he was the immigration minister. And his own staff, his own deputy ministers, were telling him, please lower immigration. Please put caps on foreign students, temporary foreign workers, and permanent residents, or we're going to have housing prices balloon. And after he failed at that area of government handsomely, they stuck Mark Miller instead into the immigration minister's job. And then they gave Sean Fraser the housing role, which is really funny. Basically, he started the bleeding, and they're going to try and get him to solve it. And everything that Sean Fraser has rolled out, but let's be honest, it's just Trudeau's plans, and Fraser is the messenger of them. When everything they've rolled out is just saying, there's a problem here. Maybe we can stick a bunch of cash in this hole and cover it over so people don't notice it. All of their plans are causing housing starts to fall. The problem whenever the government gets involved in trying to create a sort of stimulus type movement in the economy, they're trying to stimulate the economy by injecting a bunch of cash into the sector, it never works. because if you're going to take federal dollars, you have to start following even stricter and slower to follow federal regulations, codes, whatnot, environmental inspections. So every time cities, like the city of Calgary just did because they're stupid, passes this blanket rezoning in order to get these federal dollars as a part of their acceleration fund, they're really just signing up to burning $260 million in the case of Calgary to get nothing done, because all of the money is going to get eaten up by federal consultants, federal environmental inspectors, and other things that the city now has to do to even access the money. So when you have to pay $50 to access $40, I would put to you that that's not a very good deal. But that's what the federal government's been doing all along. And that's where Pierre Poilievre is here pointing out that housing starts month to month compared to last year are now down 1 to 2% depending on the month, which is horrific because Trudeau wants us to build supposedly 4 million houses by 2031, which would I believe require us to almost double the amount of houses that we're building per year. And housing starts over the last 4 years have been dropping steadily. They can't just say, oh, well, we hadn't quite rolled out the new housing plan yet. It will take a little bit. It shouldn't take a little bit to come into effect. If this was a solid plan that made it easier to build, housing would just start popping up everywhere. There wouldn't be a lot of waiting time because developers would just start purchasing land or negotiating with cities to purchase the land and start building right away. Nobody wants to get involved because unless you're a massive developer who has the legal team in order to navigate all these new regulations and requirements that you have to do, nobody's actually going to jump to the incentives. And again, all these incentive programs cause more inflation, which means it is more expensive to build homes, which means that the money was completely worthless and less people are going to build homes because there is less of a market for homes because people can't afford anything. I'm not even kidding. So as you guys know, I'm Wyatt Claypool, and I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you're in this riding, vote for me number 1 on your ballot. If you're a Conservative Party member, I was door knocking around a certain section of my riding. I'm not going to say the specific place. And this is happening all over the city right now, where there are houses who have foreign owners who either don't live in the country or they're permanent residents who don't live in the area, who are renting out individual rooms on the top and bottom floor of the house for like $500 a month. That's not $500 for like an apartment, which would be a very good deal. This is $500 for like a bedroom. This is like $600, $700 for like a bedroom and the downstairs half bath. This is what is being charged for basically nothing. It's actually illegal, but the city of Calgary and the police won't crack down on this stuff because they know the housing situation is such garbage because of the high immigration rate that they can't turn these people out of the house, because if they do, they are going to be nowhere to put them. And so right now we're in this stupid masquerade where we pretend that we can just build our way out of this problem. And as much as you have PPC guys coming by and saying, oh, well, Pierre Poilievre's in favor of mass immigration, he's not. On several occasions now, he's saying that he will lower immigration until people can actually afford housing. That immigration should fall in line with how much housing is actually being built and what the price of that housing is, which is basically indicating it's going to have to be significantly reduced in order to get control of the current market and make sure that not just that new permanent residents can afford homes, but citizens, people trying to move out of their parents' basements, can also afford houses, because it's not enough just to stabilize the housing price. We need the housing prices to start trending downwards, because 20 years in the future, the current housing prices would still be considered way too expensive. Like, housing prices have more than doubled since Justin Trudeau. I think it was like 60, 70%. They've gone up by like 60, 70% since he got into power. That is not normal inflation. No other product has gone up that much other than like microchips or other sort of tech products that have a lot of like, supply chain strains on. So yeah, great to see him actually call out the media for doing this stupid, he's going to take away all the benefits Trudeau's giving you. They're not benefits. They're what we call in the trade poison pills. Everything that the Trudeau Liberals are giving out are poison pills meant to think that you're benefiting. At the same time, they're just going to require the government to give you more assistance in the future for no discernible gain in your actual standard of living. Anyways, that should be it for me today, guys. I have my legal fund in the description of this video. It's the Give, Send, Go link. And if you live in Calgary Signal Hill, it's on the west side of the city. If you're a Conservative Party member out here, Vote for me number one on your ballot. We don't want one of these guys who's either a failed MLA from a different jurisdiction or they're just some random business guy with like 30 years of whatever, like 30 years on his resume, and he thinks that's enough to get him across the finish line when all these guys are basically red Tories simply looking to occupy a conservative seat because they can't win as a liberal. That should be it for me, guys. Have a good one.